What's up, Bills Mafia? Welcome back to the channel. And before we dive into today's big topic, make sure to smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe if you're all about Bills football. Every week, this team is working to improve. Every practice, every snap, every rep, all in the pursuit of bringing a championship back to Buffalo. But right now, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room, the Buffalo Bills offense, and how it's starting to look like a Ferrari being driven in first gear. Because folks, over the past month, the Bills have been making headlines, but for all the wrong reasons. The passing game that once terrified defenses across the league has turned into something completely unrecognizable. It's inconsistent, it's predictable, and worst of all, it's taken the ball out of Josh Allen's hands in a way that makes him look more like a passenger than the driver of this offense. And Bills Mafia, we all know Josh Allen is the engine of this team. When he's unleashed, the Bills are unstoppable. But lately, something's broken. Now, let's get into why this is happening. And it starts with the stubbornness of the Buffalo front office. All offseason, and again at the trade deadline, the message was clear. The Bills believed in what they already had. They didn't chase that big-name #1 wide receiver. Instead, they doubled down on their belief in Keon Coleman, the rookie who was supposed to grow into that alpha role. But instead of growing, it feels like the experiment has backfired. Last year, Coleman's rookie season ended with just 29 catches in 13 games. Not bad for a young player adjusting to the NFL, but not the kind of production you expect from a top pick meant to replace a star like Stephon Diggs. Still, fans and coaches brushed it off. He'll develop, they said. Just wait. Then came week 1 this year against Baltimore. Coleman went off. 8 catches, 112 yards, and a touchdown. Bills fans were fired up, the media buzzed, and it looked like we finally had that breakout moment. But since then, crickets. Coleman hasn't had more than 50 yards in a single game since. In 6 games, he's had under 30 yards. That's not WR1 production, not even close. And before anyone blames Josh Allen, let's look at the numbers. According to Next Gen Stats, Coleman's average separation against Miami was just 1.9 yards. 1.9 against a Dolphins defense starting backup cornerbacks. That's simply not good enough. On the season, that number only climbs to 2.8 yards of separation, which ranks among the lowest for starting receivers. So, sure, you can say Allen isn't targeting him enough, but maybe that's because Coleman just isn't getting open. And the struggles don't stop there. Per PFF, Coleman has just 1 contested catch all season. 1. He was drafted to be that big physical presence on the outside, the kind of receiver who can win jump balls, outmuscle defenders, and bail out his quarterback in tight windows. Think Drake London, right? That's the mold. But the truth is, he hasn't been that guy. It's becoming more and more clear that the Bills are trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Coleman's skill set might actually work better in the slot, where he can use short area quickness and yards after catch ability instead of trying to win deep or beat press coverage outside. But the problem is, Buffalo already has that guy, Khalil Shakir, who's built perfectly for that role. So here we are with redundancy. 2 slot-style receivers, but nobody who can consistently dominate on the boundary. That's where this offensive design starts to collapse on itself. Meanwhile, the Bills might already have a better fit for that outside role, Elijah Moore. He showed flashes with the Browns last season and proved he can be a reliable boundary target when used correctly. In fact, Moore's averaging over 4 yards of separation on his routes this year. That's elite-level spacing. So if the Bills want to fix this offense fast, it's time to give Moore more opportunities as that outside weapon and stop forcing Coleman into a role that doesn't suit his strengths. Because right now, the offense is stuck. And doing the same thing week after week while expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. Now, let's shift gears a bit, because there is a bit of good news coming out of One Bills Drive this week. The team just signed a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Yeah, That's right. The former Kansas City Chiefs speedster is now a Buffalo Bill. And while some fans might shrug this off as a minor move, this could actually be the kind of under-the-radar signing that changes things. Hardman brings something this offense desperately needs: speed. Pure, game-breaking, field-stretching speed. He's also one of the league's better kick and punt returners, which could signal the end of the road for cornerback and return specialist Brandon Codrington, who's been a healthy scratch in multiple games this year. But here's where it gets interesting, because one of Hardman's former teammates had something to say about this move. You might have heard of him. Tyreek Hill. Yeah, that Tyreek Hill. Right after the signing became public, Hill jumped on social media, first with a little playful jab saying, "Man went to the ops," referring to Hardman joining the rival Bills. But then moments later, Hill followed it up with something that should make every Bills fan smile. He wrote, "Happy for my bro. He's going to be a difference maker for Josh Allen. Watch." Coming from Tyreek Hill, one of the most explosive players in NFL history, that's not just praise. That's a stamp of approval. Now, will Hardman be active this week against the Jets? That's still up in the air. He was signed to the practice squad, but with Buffalo's offense so banged up, it wouldn't be shocking to see him elevated quickly. Tight end Dalton Kincaid, Allen's favorite target, is dealing with a hamstring injury and is considered week to week. And wide receiver Josh Palmer is still battling back from injury, though he's trending in the right direction and could return soon. Gabe Davis, too, has been rehabbing and could be activated any day now. If Buffalo can get even half of the spark Hardman brought to Kansas City, those quick slants, deep crossers, and jet sweeps, it could be exactly what this team needs to wake up the offense. A little more creativity, a little more space, a little more firepower. Because right now, that's what's missing. Josh Allen's at his best when he's unpredictable, when he's got a stable of weapons that can attack all areas of the field. And with Kincaid, Cook, Moore, Shakir, and now Hardman, the potential is there. It just takes smart usage, flexibility, and most importantly, accountability from the coaching staff to stop forcing a scheme that isn't working. Bills Mafia, this next stretch of games will tell us a lot about who this team really is. Will they keep forcing Coleman as a WR1, or will they finally adapt, give more outside looks, and unleash Hardman's speed to keep defenses honest? We're about to find out. Sunday in Miami was a gut punch. The Bills, who have been one of the most explosive teams in football, were held under 14 points for the first time in 20 games. That's right, 20 games. The last time we saw the offense this quiet was way back in Allen's early years.
Buffalo's 30-13 loss to the Dolphins wasn't just a defeat in the standings, it was a statement from Miami's defense, and maybe a reality check for Buffalo's coaching staff. The offense sputtered, the rhythm was off, the running game couldn't find daylight, and the passing game never really got into sync. So naturally, fans and analysts started asking the question, is it time for a change? After all, Brian Daboll, the offensive mind who helped mold Josh Allen into an MVP, just became available after being dismissed as the New York Giants head coach. The timing couldn't be more interesting. Daboll is beloved in Buffalo. He's the man who unlocked Allen's raw talent, turned him into one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in football, and helped build the offensive identity that once terrified the AFC East. So when the Bills laid an egg offensively, people started connecting the dots. Could a reunion be on the table? Could McDermott and Daboll team up once again to bring back that 2020-2021 offensive firepower? Sean McDermott was asked that very question, and his answer? Direct, firm, and final. Joe's a good coach. He really is, McDermott said. We've got a really good offensive staff. They've had really good games. You're going to have some games you want back, some play calls you want back. It's how you respond to them. I'm fully confident in Joe as our leader that we'll make the adjustments we need to make. In other words, no, the Bills aren't looking at Brian Daboll right now. McDermott acknowledged Daboll's success, calling him a great coach, but made it clear that a reunion isn't under consideration at this time. And honestly, that tells us something important. The Bills are committed to their current direction. Now, let's take a closer look at what that direction really is, because the offensive identity under Joe Brady has been evolving week by week. Brady took over as offensive coordinator last season after the firing of Ken Dorsey, and he immediately emphasized a balanced attack. He wanted to take some of the weight off of Josh Allen's shoulders by getting back to a physical, run-heavy style that controls tempo and punishes defenses in the trenches. And to be fair, it worked for a while. The Bills currently lead the entire NFL in rushing, and they're second in total yards per game at 384.4, even after the Miami loss. James Cook has been fantastic. The offensive line has been playing with more aggression, and when everything's clicking, it looks like the Bills can beat you any way they want. But when things aren't clicking, like we saw on Sunday, the offense can look one-dimensional and conservative. Against Miami, Buffalo fell behind 16-0 in the first half, in large part because they failed to convert on 6 straight third downs. The run-first approach backfired, and by the time the passing game started heating up, it was too late. After the game, Brady didn't make excuses. He took responsibility. "I'm not going to point fingers at anybody else," Brady said. "When we have that type of performance, it falls solely on me." That's accountability, and it's something McDermott clearly respects. Brady has shown flashes of brilliance. Just 2 weeks ago, in that blowout 40-9 win over Carolina, his offense rolled up 216 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns from James Cook. The Bills looked unstoppable. Allen barely needed to throw in the second half, just 6 passes, because the game plan worked perfectly. But football isn't about one formula. What works one week might fail the next. That's what makes the NFL such a brutal chess match. The challenge for Brady and the Bills now is to find that balance, to marry the physicality of the run game with the explosiveness that made Buffalo a contender in the first place. Josh Allen isn't meant to be managed, he's meant to be unleashed, and that's what this coaching staff needs to rediscover. Here's another important piece to remember. The offense isn't struggling because of a lack of talent. Even with injuries, Dalton Kincaid's hamstring, Joshua Palmer's knee, the Bills still have weapons. Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, and Elijah Moore all bring unique skill sets, but the play calling has to adapt to their strengths. That's what Daboll did so well during his time in Buffalo. He designed game plans that amplified Josh Allen's aggressiveness, deep shots, creative motions, tempo changes. Brady's style has been more grounded, more methodical. Neither approach is wrong, but when results start slipping, it's fair to question if the philosophy needs tweaking. The good news, the numbers still say the Bills are elite, leading the league in rushing, second in total offense. That's not broken, that's a foundation. But the key will be making sure that balance doesn't turn into predictability. Because if you give Josh Allen the right tools, the right mix of creativity, confidence, and rhythm, this team can hang 40 points on anybody. So let me throw it to you. What do you think? Should the Bills keep trying to develop Keon Coleman as their main guy, or is it time to shift the focus towards Elijah Moore and McCole Hardman to open this offense up? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear from all of you. And as always, if you enjoyed this breakdown and want to keep getting exclusive Bills content, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. This team is still fighting, still improving, and still chasing that Super Bowl dream. It's up to the front office and coaching staff to give Josh Allen the tools to make it happen. Until next time, Bills Mafia, stay loud, stay loyal, and as always, go Bills.